You're listening to Second Cut. This is the weekly podcast where we talk about topics in film theory, criticism, and history because it's fun to do. If you watch the show, care about the show, if you're Sam's parents or mine sometimes, or Kieran's boss, then you may notice we have new graphics, we have new images, we have sadly, officially, fully divorced ourselves from the now closed film magazine. But that's still up for another 4 years. Anyway, this is the intro. I'm Jacob, and I'm the one who knows nothing about the law.
I'm Sam, and I'm the one who will have what she's having.
I'm Kieran, and I'm the one who's sorry about the ankles.
Oh, there's too many good quotes from these movies to really narrow down, but I went with the lesser-known one.
I didn't quote specifically the movie. I quoted Kathy Bates' Oscar speech.
Oh, there you go.
She said it to James Caan and goes into Jimmy Caan, sorry about the ankles.
Yeah, and first time James Caan actually saw the film, he leant across to Rob Reiner and said, "You sick mother."
Watch your mouth. I also watched the Family Guy adaptation of Misery. It's about 7 minutes long from season 7. Really good. Yes.
Anyway, we're not doing Family Guy.
No,
we're
not.
Stephen King.
Well, maybe we'll do the family. We'll do TV cartoon movies at some point from Fox specifically. There's 3 of those, at least. But we are discussing Rob Reiner, who unfortunately passed, and his wife Michelle too in December. So we're honoring
a month tomorrow, I believe.
Yes, month tomorrow. You can go read about it. There's stuff out there. We don't need to get into the gross details. But yeah, he made a lot of great movies and brought a lot of joy to people and did a lot of other things in media too, not just direct films. So we wanted to honor his legacy and discuss him and some of his excellent movies that there's too many to choose from, really.
Yeah. I mean, I will say the ones that people kind of know are sort of in the first 10, 12 years of his life. After that, it's sort of, he's still making movies, but have you heard of them, really?
He was working steadily, throughout. And, that's obviously acting and writing as well as directing. But, he's best known for, as you say, that first decade. And people say that's like one of the strongest kind of runs in history of any director. I mean, you can look at Hitchcock or Billy Wilder or a few, Spielberg, a few others, have had a similar strong run in terms of like consistent, one kind of great kind of hit after another. Yeah. But just in terms of the sheer kind of quality and artistry and just how they've lasted, really, it's really hard to beat.
And I think the impressive thing is it's right off the bat as well.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of people that have a couple of films to work up into it.
Having Spinal Tap, Stand By Me, just straight out the gate. It's something.
So his opening, realistically, it's the opening sort of 7 or 8 that people will associate Reiner with. This is Spinal Tap to open up. The Sure Thing, which I haven't seen, but has got very good reviews and stuff like that. Stand By Me. By the way, these are 1 year after the other. So 84, 85, 86. The next year, Princess Bride. 2 years later, When Harry Met Sally. The following year, Misery. 2 years later, A Few Good Men. So you've got 7 films in under 10 years that are all just knockouts. North didn't do incredibly well. And after that, you've vaguely heard a sort of American President Goes to Mississippi. And after that, it's kind of... films are out there until Spinal Tap 2 last year, really. And you mentioned, Sam, to us before that he's got a Spinal Tap concert coming out next year. Yeah. And between that and the Spinal Tap, which I just finished watching sort of about 15 minutes ago in preparation for it, it's quite strange that he's kind of, intentionally or not, bookended his career with Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
And
with an on-camera sort of parody of himself, which is
again,
choice,
and also starred on one of the biggest sitcoms too, in the US at least.
Yeah. It's just so weird seeing him walk on again and start talking. After what's happened, there's just something wrong. and then the main section of Spinal Tap 2 ends with spoiler. There's a big concert because it's a reunion thing, and they start playing Stonehenge, and there's just something that gets it. Like 40 years later, and you know this is his kind of the final film that he saw out there. And I'll be honest, I watched it. The film is not great, because we knew it wouldn't be. There's a couple of gags in there, but the whole thing is.
But he gets a couple of great gags himself, though.
Yeah,
I mean, because he's he just makes such a good straight man, doesn't he? You know, against these, in contrast to these like wilder out there characters.
Yeah. I mean, the guy is just like there's something missing, and it's incredibly lackluster. But that's kind of part of it. But it doesn't have the energy or the vibes. But Stonehenge comes down. No matter what happens, they start singing Stonehenge, and just everything feels right with the world, and just to end.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I watched it. You know, not your Eternal Dan, but you know, I did watch it with my parents like before Christmas, and I kind of talked to my dad and kind of agreed with it. It's like, so yes. It's not terrible or anything, but the problem is it should have either been more melancholy or a lot funnier.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of stuck in that really awkward in between phase.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not quite sure exactly what tones go for. I think.
Yeah.
And I suppose they were kind of on highs into nothing. You know, following up like one of the greatest and most quotable comedies of all time. You know, doing a follow-up to that, you know, decades later. It's.
I will say that Chris Addison is very good in it. Like far better than he should be, in the nicest way to him. It's just. But yeah, Stonehenge comes down and you go, yeah, this is. Even if the concert film that never happened, somehow this feels right.
Yeah. Yeah,
even though it shouldn't be.
And it's very memorable in front of the camera performance as well, especially the last few years on TV. You know, he'd in the last year, and then before that, you know, he was on New Girl and he played Zoe Deschanel's dad in quite a few episodes on that. You know, so. And he's one of these. It's like, you know, I think a lot of people talk about like Tom Hanks being like America's uncle, don't they? But I think he's very much like one of America's dads, isn't he? You know, just like a very kind of comforting, kind of stable kind of presence. You know, in all the decades he's been around.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about him to me as a director is the question of like, is he an auteur? Because he doesn't do anything visually striking. He's making good films from like great scripts from great writers in this remarkable run I think that we're really focusing on, they're watching these, like, they're very dialogue and performance heavy films for two of them, or really all three, but there's just a bit more action and misery. But what I ultimately came to the conclusion of is like, I mean, yeah, first of all, one of his movies opens with a Rob Reiner film. Like, he's a brand that is being sold to people as like, this is a Rob Reiner movie. You know, that's going to get people there. Yeah. That means something. And, whether or not he is making anything groundbreaking, he made really good movies. They are associated with him, and they will be forever. So that's the nice thing about a lax definition there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like his versatility was his stylistic trademark almost. Yeah. He just whatever the material was, he brought the best out of his performers and the scripts, and kind of let the material speak for itself. Rather than kind of overshadowing it with like flashy kind of stylistic touches. Generally speaking, he was just a good storyteller, good all-round storyteller, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you look again, that run from Spinal Tap to A Few Good Men, realistically, is kind of the thing stuff he's known for, and you get kind of pretty much inventing the mockumentary. I mean, there probably bits before then, but the Spinal Tap is the one you think of. Yeah. Sure thing, you've got a rom-com. Stand By Me is a kind of coming-of-age drama, followed by Princess Bride, which is a fantasy film. Harry Met Sally, again, another rom-com, but then you go to straight horror thriller, then to courtroom drama, and it's just one after the other, and it's like year after year just switching up. And on the thing of kind of not having a trademark, I remember kind of Ridley Scott saying that, when he was doing Blade Runner, he was like, my job is to direct. It is to be direct, to tell you what I want. And his job is to get the script across in the best way possible, and that's his only job. It's not to have some kind of artistic trademark. It's not to have to promote himself. It is to present the material in the best way that he knows how, in the kind of not brute force-ish way possible, but kind of this needs to be done sort of way. And he manages that absolutely incredibly. And the 3 films we're going to discuss today, we were watching them all, just going, why do I not watch these more often?
Yeah.
And it's like, I rewatched Harry Met Sally last night, and I'd seen it once about, I don't know, 10 years ago. And I watch it again and going, this is just like absolutely magnificent.
Exactly. Yeah. Out of all of them, I've probably seen Misery the most. I've probably seen that 3 or 4 times, I think, over the years. But yeah, when I met Sally and A Few Good Men, they were just my second time watching each of them. I was thinking, I was just thinking, no, I should make this an annual tradition. They're that good.
Yeah, I think it should be an annual tradition again of that run of like 7 films, from Spinal Tap to Few Good Men.
Yeah.
You just carve out like a weekend and just get that all down and just kind of bask in the glory.
At the very least, I do need to do When Harry Met Sally yearly. That one and A Few Good Men were movies my mom or grandma had on VHS, and so like I would I'd see A Few Good Men on TV too. So until I didn't really get When Harry Met Sally until I watched it as an adult, and then it's a better movie than when you're a kid. But I've always loved A Few Good Men. That's why I picked that one. But I mean, I guess with that,
I was going to say, does anyone have any like just general background information on him? I mean, I would have thought Jacob is coming from sort of your area of filmmaking kind of expertise and sort of the American New Wave, that not exactly the American New Wave, but that sort of area.
It's not an insignificant detail that he was the son of Carl Reiner. Mel Brooks is a long-time comedy partner, so came from a great comedy lineage, and obviously grew up in that kind of environment and, kind of showbiz, essentially.
Yeah. I had forgotten Carl Reiner had passed, so when I saw the news, late at night pop up, I was like, didn't Rob Reiner die a few years ago? And no, it was his dad that had passed at a very old age. But yeah, I mean, basically his background was acting. He was on All in the Family. And then at some point in there, he got to start making a mockumentary. So yeah, he made that. He founded Castle Rock Entertainment.
I will point out very quickly, the high school he went to is Beverly Hills High School.
Sure.
Which, if you don't, you're like, why do I care about that? You have seen the inside of that, because that's in A Wonderful Life, where the floor opens up and the swimming pool appears. Right. It's that high school, and he was born the year after A Wonderful Life came out. Wow. So within 10 years, he was in that room, and it's like, I'm there going, why do I know that name? And just checking, it's like, oh yeah, it's the Jimmy Stewart swimming pool high school. So it was almost like all through school, you're kind of there going, Jimmy Stewart was dancing on my sports hall, like the film is there, and obviously through his family, you would have known about this and probably met Jimmy Stewart, like, so it's just interesting there that it's kind of right in there from there. Just checking Wiki, made his debut at the age of 14 on the series Manhunt. He played a lot of baseball. Pictures of him with the baseball bat and stuff like that, and he gets into acting before sort of going into directing, including uncredited early roles in the Batman series, apparently. So he's right there from the beginning. He never made a Batman movie, but he probably could have done.
Do you think he's what? Yeah, do you think he was one of the goons who got kablams?
He was an uncredited delivery boy, according to Wiki.
Right.
Delivery boy in the episode "The Penguin Declines." The 73rd episode of the Batman series, the conclusion to a 3-part series in 1967.
I'll have to dig that episode out and try and spot him.
Yeah.
Whenever
he's been in a lot of stuff.
Whenever it comes to the era that he's making movies in too, I mean, it's the mid-late 80s. Like, I don't know about you guys, I just think of huge Hollywood blockbusters. That is the period for that. And there are obviously,
I mean, people have a go at the Hollywood blockbuster. Yeah, people have a go at the Hollywood blockbuster, but like the 80s and the early 90s is peak. It's like we don't care that these were made for a ridiculous amount of money and they're like chewing up.
And that was the era when like the top 10 of the box office top 10 each year was generally interesting because you saw such a wide variety of films.
Yeah. And, you know, he's not making those huge blockbuster movies. He is making stuff that's more human, more character focused. I think, you know, particularly with like,
but he is making audience favorites though, isn't he? And these things that do last, and people have just such affection for, you know, as the years go by.
The fact that he's done 2 Stephen King films in his first like 6 films kind of shows you that, you know, even if he's kind of making these more intimate films, he's still going for people that kind of will bring in the money, you know. And I mean, I know everyone's getting on Stephen King, but this is like Stand By Me's the 80s. Stephen King's Carrie was published in 72. The film came out in 76. It's only been 10, 15 years of Stephen King, and I know he's at the like height of his powers, but it's not sort of the institution that he is now. He's a popular author, but he's not like absolute bedrock household name at that point. Some of his bigger stuff has yet to come out, again, including Misery. So kind of the fact he's done those, it shows he's picking stuff that will bring in the draw, which is probably why he's getting all the box office numbers as much as he is, or partly at least.
Well, and whenever it comes to like, you know, kind of the temperature of the culture too, like When Harry Met Sally came out before Seinfeld, but like it has that feel of Seinfeld and Friends, the way people are kind of frankly talking about relationships and issues in them. And A Few Good Men, like it feels like kind of a proto like TV show thing going on. Like it's not a slapping in media following those films.
Everything I mean, everything that Aaron Sorkin became known for, you know, his style of writing for TV is present in A Few Good Men, isn't it? And, and they obviously mesh very well with kind of Rob Reiner's kind of relatively hands-off kind of directorial style. I think, you know, you just let the performances and the very sharp script kind of, you know, drive everything, speak for itself.
I mean, I know Sorkin write A Few Good Men, he did, didn't he?
Yeah, it was his play.
But as I was watching it, I was thinking of Trial of Chicago 7 going, there's a reason why these two films feel very similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah. There's a whole TV show called Jag that came out in the 90s. Like, so, I don't know. I really enjoy these movies.
So good.
You know, we could also like throw. Do you guys, before we get into it, want to say anything about Stand By Me and The Princess Bride? Anything particular?
I mean, you know, again, I don't want to, you know, be negative or anything. I just, I've never, I appreciate Princess Bride. I don't love it, you know, as much as these other ones. Real, for some reason, I get why some people do kind of, you know, have such affection for it, and the character's great and all that, and you know, I love the framing device. But yeah, it's never kind of hit me in the feels, you know, quite as much as I think it should, you know, and I think again, kind of probably the best element of it is Billy Crystal riffing, you know, just and the rest of the cast trying to keep it together, you know, his scenes. I think that there still survives a shot we can hear. You can just about hear Rob Reiner laughing off camera, or try and stifle his laughs off camera. You know, they just kept it rolling because it was just such like a long scene there to reset if, you know, they had to cut at that point. And I did rewatch Stand By Me as well last week, and yeah, it's you know, reason it's one of the great kind of coming of age films. You know, I think it gets that era kind of. It couldn't be more Stephen King. You know, all the hallmarks are there.
Yeah.
Again, it didn't kind of, for some reason, it didn't quite bowl me over as much as, say, you know, going back to Misery did, but it's still a very, very good film with, like, you know, these upcoming kind of young actors, you know, showing their talents, you know, from the start.
Yeah, I think pretty much the same as Sam, actually. I didn't grow up with Princess Bride, which I know a lot of people did. So I kind of watch it and go, yes, I appreciate it. It's funny, and I enjoyed watching it when I watched it a couple of years ago, but it didn't hit me. And then even Stand By Me. I mean, you know me, I'm a massive Stephen King fan. I've got about like 12 of his books left, and then I've got the entire lot. Stand By Me. I think that it's a very good film, but I think now you could go. If it gave me the option, I'd switch it into that kind of feeling of kind of kids talking about life and growing up. You can just switch that now with The Long Walk. Which is, I know it's only just come out and it was one of my top films of last year, but it's just so good. And when I even read The Long Walk itself, I'm like, yeah, it works. So both of them are very good films. But I think there's the three we've chosen are probably the top peak of those films, excluding Spinal Tap.
Yeah,
because I think Spinal Tap was the obvious one, and we might have already done Spinal Tap.
We did cover it in our like alternative kind of musical films, didn't we?
So we've already done that. So find that one and check it out. But Spinal Tap, like this just as people have pointed, a load of kind of musicians have pointed out, this isn't a mockumentary; it's an actual documentary. Like it's just true to life, you know. Ozzy and like Alice Cooper and that going, we've wandered around backstage trying to find things forever. Like just it's exactly the same. So although kind of all of the films in this run, and I haven't, I must admit, I haven't seen The Sure Thing, so I cannot comment on that. But I know
apparently it's quite hard film to get hold of because it's not on any streaming service, and it's just, I think it's only ever came out on DVD, and now I quite understand that all those DVDs are either out of print or been hiked up price wise, because everyone wants to see all of his films now he's passed away.
I mean, I would not be surprised if it gets a re-release in the next year or two as a result of Reiner's death. But I think out of the kind of seven, we've picked the best of the best, and
mostly I know Stand By Me from the Family Guy episode, and then I'm also the same on like. The Princess Bride's funny. Like I do enjoy scenes in it, but like it also never emotionally connected with me in the same way. It wasn't something I watched a ton. It was something I watched a couple times in my youth and haven't seen since. So
one of the things I also find interesting and just had to double check is that although obviously he founded Castle Rock Entertainment, which is based on Stephen King's Castle Rock Town, which is like the main set point of everything. He founded it after he did Stand By Me. So the Stephen King production company, started by Rob Reiner, is not in charge of one of the Stephen King films done by Rob Reiner. It's just weird, I just said that. I'm like, what is going on with this? But I mean, I thought it had shut down at one point. I mean, I know the output went down a lot in recent years. There's one like every 3 or 4 years. And so watching Spinal Tap 2 and just seeing like Castle Rock Entertainment there, I'm like, there's something right about that, you know. It's always good to see that. And then it's really funny that obviously Castle Rock itself for Stephen King was named after the fort in Lord of the Flies, which is done by William Golding.
Yes.
Not William Goldman, who did the screenplay for Princess Bride. And every time I see the two, I have to go and double check which one is which, because I always lose track. One of them is the screenwriter, one of them is the novelist. But there is a connection in my brain somewhere, and it's through Castle Rock. So there.
Sure. All right. Well, with that, let's go ahead and get into When Harry Met Sally.
Is that the first one of the three?
It is.
Yeah.
It came out in 1989.
89, then Misery, and then A Few Good Men.
I thought it was Misery.
Right. Yeah, so... Yeah. So When Harry Met Sally, 1989 rom-com, directed by Rob Reiner and written by Nora Ephron. And it heavily incorporated both of their respective experiences with relationships into the scripts. Famously... it was originally going to end on a bit of a downer or a bit more of a realistic note. You know, they were going to stay friends at the end and walk off and live their own lives. But while working on the film, Rob Reiner met Michelle and kind of fell in love all over again. Thought, well, I'm in love, so they should be in love too. Yeah. So completely changed the ending to make it more romantic and kind of crowd pleasing, essentially.
And when you know that, you do feel that difference in the movie.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, yeah. Because I think it's like 80% of it is quite cynical, isn't it? And kind of just. I was deconstructing like the classic tropes of like a romance kind of story, but then at the end it just still sweeps you off your feet, So yeah, it's sort of like a will they won't they relationship movie basically. So Harry and Sally, Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan, their relationship starts rocky, but after a few chance meetings over the years, they become best platonic friends and support each other with the ups and downs of their love lives. But yeah, this question kind of comes about. Will their relationship ever be more? And there's the classic mistake that happens. Where things go a bit far, and it's like, oh, can we stick? Is our relationship go one direction, or should it stay this way? Or it's all those kind of questions. Obviously, it's been an Nora Ephron script. It's packed full of great lines, great kind of examinations of kind of workings of kind of human relationships, and kind of it doesn't kind of file off the rough edges, of people and what they do to each other, and how they relate or don't. I mean, just feel like I mean, it kind of does like kind of like ironic kind of turns of phrase and stuff like, in a city filled with 8 million people, you're bound to run into your ex-wife.
Of all the bars and all the gin joints and all
Yeah,
the cities of the
yeah.
world, she happened to walk in a
Yeah,
mine.
yeah.
Well, they are obsessed with Casablanca, so
Yeah.
that was an accident. I'm just
Yeah.
as I'm saying, I go, hang on.
Yeah. I mean, funny, let's bring up that because obviously they did heavily reference Casablanca throughout, and they're talking about it quite affectionately as like one of the great romantic endings. And then after those comparisons throughout the film, they end up doing like one of the a great kind of final romantic scene to match Casablanca. It's that it's that well played, that kind of emotionally hard hitting.
Well, it's interesting because they take differing perspectives. Where she's like, "Oh, she wanted to get on the plane," and he's like, "No, she did it, but you want to be with Humphrey Bogart. He's the hot guy, not the
like, who wouldn't want to be with Humphrey Bogart?"
And like it's just it's fun seeing characters like discuss movies in a movie, and I'm sure that's something that's very of the era.
Yeah. I mean, apparently the scenes of the late night phone calls, where they both got a movie on TV and just talking about it, both in their separate apartments. That I think that was based on Reiner and Billy Crystal. Apparently, that's what they used to do together. When they were friends. When they're upcoming like comic actors. They just that was their nightly routine. So it's quite nice that they kept that kind of platonic kind of relationship, even with like, a man and a woman, it's, I mean, that's one of the questions, isn't it? Which one of the things that arguably, I suppose, look for modern lens, you think that possibly dates it a bit, kind of this claim, I'm sure was all rage at the time. It's like, well, a man and woman can't be friends and just be friends. That'd be silly. That's sort of ridiculous idea.
Even though it dates it, the conversation's still hilarious. Like
but that's not Nora Ephron's kind of opinion of it at the time. Apparently, she spent years thinking that, because she'd had so many kind of friendships with guys that have inevitably led to sex or led to kind of disappointing romantic relationships.
Well, also before this, I had never known this was Nora Ephron too. So that put Harry's perspective in perspective for me, where she is giving him that view, and it's not just a guy writing, guys always just want chicks, for one thing. Which is what Billy Crystal says.
That's true. So it opens with and then kind of intersperse like the story throughout with like these this film of like married couples, talking about like how they met, and kind of what they think love and relationships are. And I mean, I presume that they were just I don't know whether I presume that they're almost like fly on the wall kind of things, but basically how did Rob Reiner kind of had just met a few people like during the kind of making of the film, the lead up to making of the film, and kind of wrote down all these interesting stories. And then he got these like kind of non-professional actors in, to give it like a bit of like a realism, kind of bit of roughness, basically just gave like a few like points about just generally what the scene was about and the things they need to mention, but otherwise just play it how you like. And but they're all like real couple stories, but played by like these kind of rough and ready kind of actors, which is kind of a nice way of doing it. And then you get the contrast those stories with obviously what Harry and Sally go through. So you got like two different kind of love, kind of simultaneous love stories. You have their will they won't they, and then you have their two friends who were meant to be, Harry and Sally meant to be setting up to go out with the other one, but then they end up falling for each other. So that's you have their kind of simultaneous kind of relationship, which they settle into kind of their kind of their happy place a lot quicker than Harry and Sally do.
And Sally's girlfriend is Carrie Fisher, which is always great to see her in a
Carrie
movie.
Fisher. Yeah, and I love the scene where they're having lunch. Her and the girlfriend's having lunch, and they're kind of talking about how hard it's date, and basically Carrie Fisher's demonstrating like the old-fashioned way of doing Tinder, basically, but with like a Rolodex. I've got all these guys. I was going to try this one. Oh no!
The thing is,
I see. That one. How about this?
I see one of those, and I think of Mads Mikkelsen in Hannibal because he's got one for all his recipes. It's just that's completely different.
Yeah, that's true.
Different use of it.
Apparently, it's great that kind of both Harry and Sally, they've got loads of kind of really endearing features, and you enjoy spending time with them. They're really memorable, strong characters, but they're also full of both full of these like neuroses and foibles and kind of things that would absolutely drive you nuts. But as Harry points out later on, that those kind of things are what make you fall for someone. Really, it's these unique little kind of mismatched kind of puzzle pieces,
And it's because they've got these good points and bad points that makes them more than characters. It turns them into people. They're not. They are good and bad at the same time. Like they both drive you absolutely insane, and yet you love them at the same time.
And they do feel like they had kind of lives outside, the scenes we see in the films, don't we? They feel like they've lived full lives and had all these experiences,
especially in between the 5-year gaps.
Yeah. In particular, like the idea of Sally being like really picky or OCD kind of eater, like ordering everything on the side, and it's got to be, a lunch is going to be made a certain way and in a certain order. Apparently, that was based on Nora Ephron. But apparently,
how flattering.
I think Rob Reiner. I think in an early meeting, Rob Reiner had watched her eat lunch and said, "Yeah, you've got to put that in your scripts." She was like, "Yeah, okay, that is quite funny." Famously, there's a scene in a diner.
Where, even if you've never seen the film, you know the scene.
Yeah, you know the diner scene. Yeah, I mean, and that diner is famous, and there is the Harry Met Sally table, which people go sit at and reenact it. But essentially, Harry Billy Crystal just claims that kind of he'd always know if a woman didn't have an orgasm, he just they wouldn't have hide that from him, and Sally says, "Oh, really?" and then proceeds to have a very vocal fake orgasm at the table. To which is it Rob Reiner's mother, I think, playing the woman?
Is it actually?
Just Mom, we'll get you in this scene. I've got a good one line for you. And she says, she's the waitress. I'll have what she's having.
One of the most iconic one-liners in film history.
Apparently it's an early test screening. They showed when that scene came around, and they showed it to like a test audience. Apparently, every woman in the crowd was laughing their heads off, and all the men were sitting there in stony silence. I think, "Yep, I've got that right."
Yeah.
That's.
But apparently,
that's working.
That whole scene came about because Billy Crystal's like, we need to give like Meg Ryan more to actually do, like more of the focus on her at some point to balance it out. And they're like, "Well, what can we do?"
Yeah.
And they came up with just this like faking an orgasm thing. It was like, that'll work. Let's do it.
Yeah, because he's obviously understandably well regarded as like a comic genius, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's got such a distinct voice and way of putting things in just such a way with like a rapid fire dialogue and everything like that. And she's kind of obviously best known as like this string of rom-coms she did around this time, and probably what kind of way more on the side of the romance. She did all these kind of to kind of being lazy, let's say chick flicks. She's like the queen of the chick flick around this time. But I think she's an underrated comic talent in terms of her timing and just the way she plays stuff. And I think she's one of the best. They're just such good good match for each other. So that there's another kind of key scene is where they play with split screen. So this few times, so obviously you have them going to their separate apartments and calling each other and talking about the movie that's on TV. There's one point where they're doing that, but they've both got their friends with them who join in on the conversation, and again the screens splits and they're all part of the same conversation, being like separate kind of geographical spaces, and like the conversation kind of progresses, and just the timing in it is perfect. And just from the sound effects to how the dialogue gets overlaid and everything like that.
Just very quickly on Meg Ryan, because I just had to recheck this. She was offered the role a couple of years after this of Clarice Starling in Silence of the Lambs and turned it down. I mentioned this because at the Oscars, where Silence of the Lambs won everything, it's introduced and the host is Billy Crystal.
Oh, wow.
And he gets wheeled on in a gurney as Hannibal and goes up to Anthony Hopkins, goes, "I'm having people round for dinner later. Would you care to join me?" So there's links there, hilariously enough, even then, with Billy Crystal through a role that would have been hilarious. Just saying, like if Meg Ryan had been in to get all these awards and Billy Crystal goes up to her.
Definitely.
And asks the same thing. She'd have probably turned around and gone, "I'll have what you're having." There's an alternate universe there.
Yeah. So the use of split screen is obviously it's definitely a reference to Indiscreet, the Cary Grant Ingrid Bergman film from the late 50s. Famously to get around the production codes. Showing them both in bed, but with on two different screens. They're separate beds, but they're side by side to look like they're in bed together. So that was like a censorship thing. But this obviously, it's playing that geographical space, and apparently to achieve it, they're all the actors were on separate sets. So basically, kind of with the camera set up, locks onto them, playing their scenes, but they're all playing it like almost like a radio play, really, kind of the back and forth and everything, timing. So it's done for real, like in camera, but like 4 different sets basically, and kind of synced together. So it was
just saying that makes it the second Bergman reference, obviously, with Casablanca. Yes. So there's an Ingmar Ingrid Bergman even thing going on there.
It's true, yeah. And So I've had a quote about that somewhere. So Rob Reiner explains, we had 3 different sets, one where Bruno and Carrie were, a separate set where Billy was, and a third set where Meg was. It was all the same soundstage. It was almost like doing a recording in a studio. The phones were all hooked up to each other because there are no cuts. If you notice, if someone makes a mistake and it's a 3 to 4 page scene, you can't cover it. You can't cut away to anything. You have to do it over again. So how many times did they try to get it right? We shot it 61 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they would have been insane after that sequence, but it really kind of holds up. It's such a good end result.
I'm just going to say, you can only do that if you have a certain amount of money. Like, to be honest, if you even at this stage, if you banked Meg Ryan and Carrie Fisher in your film, you've got the money and the time to be able to do that. Like
that's such a crazy way to do that, instead of just like shooting each person individually and stitching them together.
Well, I mean, it's what you'd love to do, but
it's
out of 100 films that would try and
maintain that energy,
Yeah. Out of 100 films that would try and shoot that, I can guarantee you 95 of them would not physically have the resources and the time and the schedule to be able to do it. Like, I would not have even considered doing it like that, because I'd have just gone, leave a pause, we'll sync it all up somehow. we'll have somebody reading your lines, and you try and work it like that. But the thing you do get, if you've got it all like that, is it means your timing works a lot better. So what you're not doing is talking, leaving a gap, and then coming in again. Because if you can't cut between people, you've got to hope that whoever's on each one have literally, you've got it down to like, I don't know, you have a clock maybe, and go on this beat you have to say your line, on this beat you have to say like that. Whereas if you've got it live, you can like feed off one another. So it's more of like a theatre thing,
but
which is
obviously weird. That's
one of his
weird doing it
backgrounds.
over phone calls because you don't have the facial expression of your singing partner, do you? So you're entirely relying on audio cues, aren't you? Which, they didn't make it easy for themselves. And it's a great kind of New York movie, and kind of it's like, obviously, and that's cliche, but it's like the city is like another character, and you see it in all the seasons and all the most picturesque kind of landmarks and tourist destinations. It's a real kind of selling point for New York of that era, I think.
Yeah, I think we should start a second cup bingo, and the location is a character or some variation of fun should go on the bingo.
Yeah, but it's often true.
It is.
I think one of my favourite moments of the whole film is when Harry's comforting Sally, after a particularly a hard time on the relationship front, and he's one of these guys, that's why their relationship is so strong. He'll, either of them will drop everything, just to go comfort the other one and be there for them. And obviously, inevitably, they're hugging and then, kissing on the cheek, and then it becomes something else. And they, end up spending the night together. And the shot straight after, just the contrasting kind of post-coital facial expressions are absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Just how they've had completely different experiences, just like the bliss on kind of Sally's face and the sheer terror on Harry's face, but trying to hold it all in, just like, oh, we should not. That should not have happened.
Well, there's also the thing that hold them. It's like the girl wants all night, he wants 30 seconds. So what's going in his head is going, this is too long now, I'm uncomfortable with this. And then probably in her head, Sally's going longer than 30 seconds, getting up to a minute. Yes, we're keeping going with the timer.
Yeah. It's just a really special film, I think, and it just it's one of these kind of that makes you, however cynical you might be, or however bad experiences you might have had, on the relationship front. I think it does kind of much make you believe in love again. As corny as that kind of sounds. Yeah. Just on Rob Reiner and Michelle. So he talked about kind of how his kind of opinion on the whole thing, the whole story should be about, changed as it went on and as their relationship developed, while he was filming it. So he said, because I'd been married for 10 years and I'd been single for 10 years, and I couldn't figure out how I was ever going to be with anybody. That's kind of what gave birth to when Harry met Sally, and obviously Nora Ephron been through similar kind of relationships, kind of problems, but kind of his kind of cynicism and his lack of his kind of his loss at kind of that kind of relationship for so long, kind of gave birth to this story. But obviously it changed towards the end, and he realised he had to completely do a new ending because I met my wife Michelle, who have been married now 35 years. So obviously this was a few years ago. I met her while we were making the film, and I had to change the ending. as simple as that, just literally, just finding, his one, just, made him think, right, I've got to give these characters like the same kind of opportunity almost, no matter how they've fought it like throughout the film, and however they've got completely different ideas about what love is. It just comes down to these kind of two mismatched kind of odd couple almost, of all these different neuroses and issues, and they're I know to quote Deadpool, his crazy matches her crazy. It's that kind of thing. It's it's these kind of differences that bring them together, I think, and obviously he's got the great speech at the end, where again basically lists all the things that annoy him, but that's why that's why they've got to be together. That's why I can't stop thinking about her. So yeah, it's a really special one, and what kind of understand about one of the all-time great kind of romance films. If you guys tend to agree with that.
I mean, I don't watch very many of them, but I rewatched this and went, I should watch this more often. Just like you're just there going, it makes you feel so good and happy in life, and not many films do.
It's such all three of these, you really do struggle to find a fault at all, really. Just you really are nitpicking. You're trying to find the faults if you really look for them, but generally they just kind of sweep you along and you kind of overwhelm you, and you just can't help but be kind of actually fall in love with this love story, these characters.
Yes,
completely agreed.
Now, do you think we also fall in love with the characters in Misery, Kieran?
I mean, you can become their number one fan, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Possibly. I tell you what the weird thing is that all of the Stephen King films, all of the adaptations, and I think he is the number one most adapted writer in history now. Probably, like, in terms of different works, I think the most adapted work or the most played character is Sherlock Holmes, and after that is Dracula.
Yeah.
In terms of kind of different adaptations of different of his works, Stephen King is at least in the top 5. And out of all of them, bearing in mind you're thinking of The Shining, you're thinking of Carrie, you're thinking of Stand By Me, you think of Shawshank, you think of The Green Mile, all these things. There's only ever been one Oscar win.
Yeah.
That is for Kathy Bates in Misery. And it's like, out of all of them, and you go, what is this? What is going on? Like, but then you watch it and you go, it deserves it.
She's an elemental force in this, isn't she?
Yeah. I mean, I tried to look up, and I will at some point. I'll find how many Stephen King adaptations have there been, and I'll see if I can get a definitive number.
I mean, it helps that he's been so prolific at the same time as kind of cinema's been around, basically. I mean, like,
there's that, and there's his. So there's two things. He does the Dollar Baby scheme, which is for student filmmakers. He essentially goes, you can have the rights to my work for $1, but I have to see the cut. I want to see it. But the other thing is that he, like, for all of his works, he does very good deals for kind of the major things. So if you want to make a feature film out of a Stephen King film, the rule he had in place for a number of years was something like, you can buy it for like $100, but I get 10% of the profits.
Yes. Yeah.
It might not even be profits. It may just be any grossing.
Still in place, or
as far as I know, it hasn't been changed, but it may have done.
We should buy the rights to
that
Stephen
tells you,
King
like,
stuff.
Yeah, but it's so what it means is that he's making, like, selling loads of copies, and he gets stuff off the books. And although he doesn't sell the film rights very much, he's pretty much guaranteed, like, a massive income back, because it's like, oh, it's a Stephen King movie. We're going to make a damn decent amount of money. So, like, the 4 that came out last year, all of them, well, I mean, The Monkey made 73 million at the box office. So if it's off pure box office gross, he's made 7.3 mil. Even if it's like a profit, let's say, I don't know, I can't remember what it was made for, like 15, 20 mil. Let's say you double that to 50 mil. Let's say it's 25 mil profit. He still made 2.5 million off that. Like, you'd have sold the rights to that short story for like 500,000 max. Like, it's ridiculous. So it means that, again, you can pick up these things very quickly and get them out, and you don't have to spend the money on that, which means you can spend the money on the other production rights. So you can spend the money on hiring James Caan, to be your lead after pretty much everybody else in Hollywood turns it down.
The names that turn that character down, it's incredible. Yeah.
So according to Wikipedia, and I've seen this kind of list in other places as well, so I'm fairly sure this is closely accurate, and I think this is quoted in sort of William Goldman biography. So it was Hofford 2, William Hurt twice, then Kevin Kline, Michael Douglas, Harrison Ford, Dustin Hoffman, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Richard Dreyfuss, Gene Hackman, and Robert Redford. So that's, were you a leading man in the 70s? Yes. Do you want to be Paul Sheldon?
Yeah.
Essentially. And I mean, obviously, the screenplay is done by William Goldman. Got to get the right one, Goldman. So who had obviously worked with Redford and Hoffman and all that kind of stuff anyway. And it's interesting that like Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, who were in The Godfather, turned it down, and James Caan, who was in The Godfathers, accepted it as well.
Yeah.
So you have all these links coming back, and then for Annie, a load of people. So Angelica Houston turned it down. Betty Midler turned it down as well. You know, all these nominated for various people, and then it was Goldman who went, maybe we should get this fairly unknown theatre actress in. Yeah. And one of the best casting choices in film history. Yeah. Not just horror, possibly. And it's made her entire career, you know. Going around keeping James Caan hostage.
Yeah, it's one of these classic stories where it kind of like life art imitates life because kind of the on-set story, a bit like with Jaws back in the day. You know, there was such great kind of dynamics between those three guys because their relationship on set kind of reflects their kind of what the characters are going through. In this, like Caan and Bates really didn't get on because there's such contrasting kind of acting styles. Yeah, she came from a theatre background. She loved rehearsal, whereas he was very much like the new Hollywood era. Just be instinctive and just get on with it, throw yourself in there. And and Rob Rowe was kind of stuck kind of between the two, kind of trying to give a little rehearsal time to please Bates, but not too much that would piss off kind of James Caan. And that kind of tension, I think, boils over to the kind of on-screen tension in the story between the characters as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's been many inspirations for the story as a whole from Stephen King. I mean, obviously, it's kind of when you're going through Stephen King's bibliography and even his short stories, it's sort of take a drink every time a character's a writer. I shouldn't say take a drink after Stephen King's drug issues.
And then what does their act of writing represent? You know, what demons are they kind of?
Well, that's what I wondered. Is Kathy Bates a metaphor for cocaine in this story?
Well, guess what? Stephen King has said.
He put that off. He put off answering that definitively for years, but I think more recently he has basically said. Yes,
so Stephen King, The Art of Fiction, The Paris Review, number 189. Annie was my drug problem, and she was my number one fan. There's things that Eyes of the Dragon, which he'd done, which is a fantasy novel, hilariously enough, with characters from The Dark Tower in like an alternate reality sort of thing. Also, hilariously enough, the name for the place in that, Delane, is where the metal band Delane gets their name from. So, hey, went to see them a few years ago. But there was a fantasy story, and apparently a load of fans were like, what is this crap? Where does this fantasy come from? Get back to writing the horror thing. And then I think there is a story that he was at one of his residences, because he's got enough money to have more than one house at this point. And a fan of his found out where he lived and broke into his house. So this interaction with like a number one fan, you know, it spooked him. So there's lots of things that came into it. But then you look at it and you go, yeah, Paul Sheldon pretty much is just Stephen King. Strangely enough, add another one to the version. So if you don't know what Misery is about, because I haven't actually mentioned it yet, Paul Sheldon, played by James Caan in the film, is a writer. He is kind of is sort of winter retreat, typing a new manuscript off the back of writing. I think it's 5 books starring this character, Misery Chastain. Which has made him like one of the biggest selling writers in the world. It's the equivalent of like landing on like a J.K. Rowling inordinate success kind of thing. And it's snowing and his car goes out of control and he gets rescued by Annie Wilkes, who is a former child nurse, and you know gets him kind of patched up and brings him nursing him back to health. But it just so happens that Annie Wilkes declares herself to be Paul's #1 fan. And will do absolutely anything because Misery is essentially her life and soul, and she knows absolutely everything about him. It's like, I knew you'd be in the area because you do this thing, and therefore you always go to this cabin whenever you write, and I know you use this type of like typewriter and all that kind of thing. And she has a little Paul Sheldon kind of shrine with all the Misery books there. And it turns out that a bit like Arthur Conan Doyle getting fed up of writing Sherlock Holmes, Paul Sheldon is fed up of writing Misery. And so the book that's about to be released, which gets released by about minute 30 of the film runtime, he has killed off Misery Chastain. And Annie Wilkes is not happy about this. This is pretty much the only thing she lived for. And this new manuscript he's busy writing is completely different. There's a load of swearing in it. It's kind of in the kids and the streets, that kind of thing. And Annie Wilkes is not very happy about this. And because he's completely at her mercy, he now has to write for his life, I think is on the tagline of the poster, something along what else is Paul Sheldon used to write for a living. Now he's writing to stay alive, essentially. And as long as he keeps writing this book, Annie Wilkes, won't kill him, essentially. And so the whole film, aside from like a couple of scenes, which are really quite funny, with the sort of local law enforcement that occasionally crop up, 80% of this movie is just in this house. With Paul Sheldon and Annie Wilkes, James Caan and Kathy Bates.
80% of the movie is in his room, is in that room, in that bedroom, basically.
I'd say 60%. The 20% is the rest of the house, and then 20% are outside scenes.
Yeah. Kind of escapes briefly, and a couple of the characters take a tour of the rest of the building. But
I think one of the interesting things with this is kind of the same. Thing that you have when it's in the book as well. It's actually fairly similar. There are changes made, but with anything, with a book, I think you've got slightly bit more leeway because people will kind of put it down and pick it back up, and it's read over a longer period of time, and so you kind of allow for concentration dropping in and out. With a film, if you've got 90 to 100 minutes. And I find this when I'm switching from writing prose to writing screenplays and scripts. When I'm writing prose, a scene can take 2,000, 3,000 words sometimes. It might take, depending on the prose style. And you have time to go through it. The same scene in a screenplay can be 300 words. And in 5 minutes, it's done. And the speed of it is completely changed. So your speed of concentration, the time frame it takes to get through a scene, from it being on screen to being on the page is completely different, which means your pacing has to kind of be managed very psychologically in terms of keeping interest and stuff like that. And if you've got characters just in a room, you've got to find ways to keep this everything interesting, because otherwise it can turn up being essentially the same conversation. A lot of this film could have just been pretty much the same scene of Annie coming in, giving him the Noprovol or whatever it is, leaving again, going, I love Misery Chastain, and moving out again. But every single scene, you've got to advance the story sometimes. And it's quite hard to find different things to actually do, to keep it going while still keeping them in there.
I think
to feel like you got momentum whilst not.
I think especially with this movie where one guy can't use his legs and is essentially trapped in a place. Because very early on, whenever, you know what's going to happen. And I'm just like, okay, when is the switch going to flip? And then how much can we keep up the charades of, I didn't kidnap you?
Yeah. And then it's the cat and mouse between the two of them, and it's keeping that constantly kind of simmering, which is the task of a very skilled screenwriter. Again, Goldman as much as Stephen King for adapting to a different medium where audience engagement is different to a novel, and of the directing as well, in order to keep it interesting and keep it moving and staged correctly.
Yeah, and style-wise, it's very obviously very Hitchcockian, isn't it? I mean, it's probably Rob Reiner's most, relatively speaking, his most stylistically flashy kind of work. I mean, it's not like there's not a load of zooms and whip pans or anything, but it's more so than it normally is. And
it feels weird 'cause
I think when he was filming it, I think he kept it. He said it kind of his mantra was always, "What would Hitchcock do?" If he wasn't sure about how to, how to block a scene, or where the tension should come from, he kind of thought back on that.
Well, I mean, if you imagine Rear Window, but imagine Grace Kelly as a psychopath,
basically,
it's kind of the same basic
but
principle.
I kept thinking about, like, whenever you got a shot from her top floor, down the staircase. That's such a psycho kind of shot, isn't it? It was exactly the same framing.
There's a staircase in there. It's Hitchcock. We know Hitchcock loves his staircases.
But no, just the way they've kind of put it together. I think that's very conscious.
It's so well put together, and so well done. And Ryan, again, a lot of the time kind of drops it back, kind of blocks it all very kind of functionally, but effectively to allow, because he knows that the entire film of these two actors and these two performances, and if these two performances don't work, you could have anything else going, the entire film will fall. And James Caan has obviously got the acting chops, but it's so weird that he's been in all these blockbusters with absolutely everyone for decades. And this fairly unknown Kathy Bates comes in. And in the nicest way to James Caan, who does have an amazing performance, just destroys everything in her wake. It's amazing. It is absolute force of nature. And she switches, and it's just got pure psychopathy in her eyes every single second. It's amazing.
I really like the old man police sheriff guy who's investigating.
Richard Farnsworth.
And then his wife
I
is
must admit, rewatching this, I've forgotten how much he's in it. Actually, it does keep going back to those two and kind of them trying to do their best to just put something together, to get a bit of progress in this investigation. But
I love when they're reading the books together, like looking for clues. But it's sad that, he gets a shotgun hole blown through him. And then, we never really see anything from the wife again. She's just kind of off screen, going to learn of her husband's tragic murder. It's very sad.
Well, I mean, you look at the cast, just even on Wiki. You got James Caan. How many awards did he get nominated for in his lifetime? Nominated for Best Supporting Actor Oscar, for 4 Golden Globes and a Primetime Emmy. Again, a Saturn Award for this. Then you get obviously Kathy Bates, who wins the Oscar for this, along with being nominated in other places. And then you get Richard Farnsworth, who got nominated twice for Oscars and got a Golden Globe before this, and nominated for another one. Francis Sternhagen as well had won or will win 2 Tony Awards, Drama Desk Award, a Saturn Award. And then you get the cameo by Lauren Bacall, of all people. Who, again, has got how many Oscars and all that thing. And obviously...
And it's fascinating to get her in there, because it's a bit of a thankless role, really. She's she's his agent. She's setting up meetings, and she'll giving statements to the press and stuff. But there's not really lots of the characters. But to get such a high class kind of actor in there just for that small role, it's incredible.
Well, I mean, obviously you look her up and then you go, she's been starring alongside Humphrey Bogart in her early career for several films. I wonder if Humphrey Bogart has made another Rob Reiner appearance very recently. Strange that. So again, it's just your main sort of there's only about 6 or 7 characters
people
in this.
His dad was probably hanging out with back in the day.
It's like Humphrey Bogart, it's been must have been in something with Jimmy Stewart, at some point. And obviously there's the high school. It all slots together now, but it's just there's like 7 people in this, and 5 of them have either won or been nominated for Oscars and Golden Globes and Emmys and the lot. It's like, even if they're on screen for about 3 minutes, it's absurd. The amount of talent that's in this. Obviously, you've got the writer as well, Goldman, that's got, did Butch Cassidy and all these things, and will eventually do A Few Good Men and all the rest. Rob Reiner's been nominated for stuff. It is stacked, absolutely the talent in all of this. And yet, realistically, what is it known for? It's known for breaking people's ankles. Which in the book was originally Kathy Chop's graphic warning ahead and spoilers. Annie works out that Paul's trying to escape and not taking his kind of sleeping drafts. And so she decides to make sure that he can't get away by chopping one of his feet off and then cauterizing the wound, which you could still hop. It's going to be painful, but you can still hop.
I mean, his legs are broken. I don't know if he can hop.
Yeah, they're recovering. He's been there for a while. But in the film, it was I can't remember who decided to change it. Somebody decided that we got to change it because it would be it just fit, hang on. Goldman subsequently wrote Reiner insisted that it be changed so that she only breaks his ankles. Goldman subsequently wrote that this was a correct decision, as the visual depiction of an amputation would cause the audience to hate Annie instead of sympathizing with her madness. So if it's just straight off, it's far more brutal and just there's no way back. Whereas if you're breaking the ankles, it's...
I mean, it's brutal enough, isn't it?
It's a slightly different tone. And the thing that I love is that you're watching this all, and it's so well built up.
Yeah,
because you know what's coming and coming and coming and coming.
Yeah,
and does it twice. With the first one,
yeah,
he shows
you actually see the first ankle go. It's only for a few frames, but it's there.
Yeah.
You see it bending at that horrible angle.
Now the question is, do you need to see it? And I would say, yes, you actually do. You don't need to see the second one.
Yeah.
But you need to see the first one,
Yeah.
because cutting away from it, it is such a visceral moment where you've had all this kind of, pent up anxiety that gives you a bit of the release, and it has to be visual. It has to be.
And I think it almost fools you into thinking that they are going to cut away like at the last minute. But just that few frames where you actually see the foot bend, and then actually, everything else done with like sound effects.
But the fact that they don't do the second one, I'm now thinking of Hitchcock again, and I think of how he does the murders in the film Frenzy, which is his second to last film with the necktie murders, where he shows viscerally the murder of the first kind of victim in the main plot, but the second one, kind of the killer goes into the room and the camera goes all the way down the stairs and back out the front door. And he literally turned and went, I could have shot the second one, but we already know what's going to happen. I think it's much more devastating to leave the audience knowing what's going to happen, but like almost running away and leaving them to it. So you almost feel guilt for it. And I think after that first one, like I've watched a couple of like reaction videos on YouTube, and they'll get the first one because they don't think they're going to show it. After the first one, they don't look for the second one, even though they don't show it. And I think it's far more visceral that way, because after you've done the one, you physically have to look away, and it's so brutal, and it's so well done, and I think there's a couple of things that work with it as well. One is the music in the background, which is calming, sort of classical piano stuff in the background. Again, almost sort of Hannibal Lecter-ish in a couple of years' time, after he does the security guards, where he's kind of lilting over the music through the radio. And there's the bit right at the end after the second one where it just zooms in on Kathy Bates going, "God, I love you," and it's just, it's perfect way to cap that off. It's not just evil. It is madness, because she does not see this as a bad thing to do. And I think without that, you don't get that. She sees this as perfectly normal. She's doing everything to keep her idol here. and it's that bit of madness which is the entire key to Annie, and Kathy Bates does it so perfectly and so beautifully that everything's just held together by, I think, that one line. Not even "I'm your number one fan." I think it's the "God, I love you" bit which holds everything together.
Yeah.
And
the very end is great too.
Yeah. I mean, in the for some reason in my head, I haven't read the book in years. For some reason in my head, I think she kills somebody with a lawnmower. I've got that in my head. I could be right or wrong, but in this one, there's a shotgun hit. And actually, one of the other things I'm thinking of, I think King might even think of it as well, but a very Hitchcockian thing to do. I'm thinking of Rear Window as well. Is that Hitchcock's thing was that he would always try and make use of the surroundings to the advantage or disadvantage of the protagonist. So
in terms of how you give or take away information from the viewer, you're very much in control of kind of what the environment covers or shows.
Well, not even that. He specifically mentions in North by Northwest. There's two things. Well, one he never got to do. He wanted Cary Grant inside the nose of Mount Rushmore to have a sneezing fit, which is giving it away, but also funny because it's inside the nose. The one he mentions for that is he mentioned this and Rear Window, but for North by Northwest, he ends up in the auction. And instead of just shooting his way out, he gets out by actively bidding. So using the environment he's in to his advantage. In Rear Window, he mentions that the main character is a photographer, and right at the end, saves himself a couple of seconds by using the camera flash to blind the antagonist as he comes towards him. So he's using the environment he knows to his advantage.
So is Paul whacking Annie on the head of his typewriter using his special set of skills?
Yeah. A Taken style, but that is in that thing. I always one of Hitchcock's thing that he won't just go for shoot them. He'll go, what would that character have to hand? To be able to get themselves out of it, to bring it into organically part of the film, and that's a really nice bit at the end.
I mean, I think I've read in terms of like the adaptation, and when they got set, they were kind of going through the scripts and going line by line through kind of why couldn't you do this, why couldn't you do that. They kind of almost wanted to beat the audience to the punch in terms of people saying this isn't realistic, we don't buy this. Like this is he's got broken legs. Apart from that, he's a smart, kind of physically able man. So why can't you do this? Why can't I do that? And like I think the only thing they struggled with was the phone thing. Especially the phone. And they thought, well, we'll just have a fake phone on the desk. And they will say, well, how would we explain that? We'll just say she's crazy. She just has a fake phone.
The house is the monster. No. It's such a. I mean, I'd seen like a couple of the scenes several times, many times over the years. The entire film just the once, and then watching it again, going, you can't really fault the film at all. It's like you might not like it 100%, but you watch it all and you go, in terms of a kind of a pot boiler, a thriller, like it's so good, and it's cemented by two impeccable performances. And again, this essentially started Kathy Bates' career, which continues to this day, and remains undiminished. Kathy Bates coming stuff, and after this, Stephen King writes Dolores Claiborne the book so that it would get made into a film. And when he was writing the book, essentially wrote the part for Kathy Bates. That's how much it did for her. The writing the book, not with no like it might never get made into a film, but it's like, I'm writing the book. This is you. So that if it ever gets made into a film, you can take the role. Like that. That's how much it did for her, and she well deserves that Oscar. And considering she was fairly unknown at this point, she was a theatre actress. It's just transcends time.
I mean, this was the era, the rare time when horror, kind of, or horror adjacent stuff was getting a bit of mainstream kind of awards attention. Obviously, the following Oscars obviously had Silence of the Lambs, swooping the board
Yeah.
as well. So
It's
again, we need another instance of that. I think another
yeah.
hero like that.
Come on, Googler. You got this.
Yeah.
But yeah,
He'll get some technical awards, but it's not going to win anything else.
no, it'll get some noms but won't any awards. Anyway, that is my ending on Misery. I don't know if anyone else has any agreements on Misery, but yeah, one of the most perfect little snowy pot boilers ever put to film, and it's not just because I'm a Stephen King fan.
Yeah, I co-sign all that absolutely. Yeah, it's absolutely kind of gripping and terrifying, and just seeing Kathy flip from one mode to another like in a blink of an eye is incredible. Maybe because I find her scarier when she's all sweetness and smiles than when she's going all frosting at the mouth, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you never any doubt, you know, that she could, you know, not only, you know, is she kind of, you know, sadistic and kind of unhinged, but she could physically overpower you as well. You know, she feels powerful. She feels like she could kind of handle herself.
Yeah, I don't think it would work with somebody who is, we'll say, conventionally Hollywood attractive.
Yeah.
Bombshell A-listers
Yeah.
would not have worked for Annie Wilkes. And if you got a major thing like this opposite a load of other stars, there might have been a tendency to go, who's the box office hit? Let's see if they'll take it. But it works that Annie Wilkes is, Kathy Bates isn't kind of, you know, your Meg Ryan from the previous year. You know, your actress-wise, you go from Meg Ryan, who is the pretty much like top 5 grossing stars at the box office, will be for the next decade, to Kathy Bates in, you know, complete opposite, but that's what makes it work. And I think that's what makes Misery all the more impressive, is you go from Harry Met Sally 12 months later to Misery.
Yeah.
Like, it is such a whiplash. Like, it's Spielberg levels of whiplash. And even he took about 2 years between his films.
Yeah.
Like, it's astronomical, the switch that he does there.
Yep. And then more whiplash as he moves into, I don't know, political courtroom military drama.
Courtroom drama, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
with another stacked cast.
Yeah, another great cast, and also another good writer behind it. So in the late 80s, Aaron Sorkin had written like off-Broadway plays, but you know, he was still working jobs apparently. He was working as a bartender, and his sister was telling him the story of she was a lawyer. She was having to go to Guantanamo Bay to, you know, look into like some hazing or something. And he's inspired by the story, writes it on a bunch of cocktail napkins, goes home, turns it into a play, which, by the way, Stephen Lang plays Jessup in the stage production of A Few Good Men, the original. And he sells the film rights to Castle Rock Entertainment. And this is the play that really pushes him into film, becoming a Hollywood writer and figure. And of course, like, we'll probably have just do Sorkin at some point, his own movies. Yeah. But A Few Good Men, like, insane cast, iconic moments, and nominated for several Academy Awards, including Best Picture. What else did it have? Best Picture.
Nicholson got nommed.
Yeah, Best Supporting Actor. Film Editing for Robert Layton, which, I mean, it's fine. I guess it's there because it's a good movie. And Best Sound Mixing for whoever did the sound there. So it tells the story of kind of a disinterested Navy lawyer played by Tom Cruise, who is really just waiting out his time so he can go get a real law job in the movie The Firm, I guess. I don't know.
He's in the Navy. He's in the Navy, but he doesn't like boats.
In the Navy. Right, that's all I can do before we get copyright.
Yeah, he's very similar to the character of The Firm, the more I think about it, because he's, you know, fresh out of, you know, boot camp, basically. He's been in the military for 9 months, and he's a year out of law school. but he's a genius. And he just, without thinking, will get clients great deals, but he never goes to trial. It's always a plea bargain. And he, he doesn't really care. He just wants to feel smart and be really good at his job. Demi Moore, she is a very hardcore internal affairs, military. She's also an attorney, but, I guess she does, more just bureaucratic stuff.
Yeah, and she's also his superior officer. Which,
she is.
Brought up a few times.
And then, and Jack Nicholson, he is the colonel in Guantanamo Bay, and he's got Kiefer Sutherland and a couple other officers under him. But Demi Moore discovers, is handed this case or whatever, where there's these three privates. Two of them went into one's room, as we see in the beginning, and they assault another one, and he ends up dead. And so, the question is, did they kill him? Is this the result of orders? Who is really at fault here? There is somebody dead, but who is ultimately responsible?
Yeah, because they're essentially on trial for both murder and for disgracing the uniform, aren't they?
Yeah.
But then their whole case relies on the fact that proving that they were following orders, that they were ordering to do it. Because being a Marine, you've got to follow orders. It's the core comes first, and what was it? Core, country, God, I think was the order they gave their
unit,
priorities.
core, God, country.
Units. Yeah,
or something like that.
What's the Full Metal Jacket one? Your souls belong to Jesus, but your ass belongs to the core, or something along those lines.
Yeah. It's that's what a lot of the film is really about. It's about like the different dynamics and characterizations and the way things are done in these different segments of society, but also the military itself too. At the end, whenever Jack Nicholson is talking about I'm the one who's sitting right here, I'm on the line, everything I do is to protect people, which part of that is justification for whatever unsavory things he has to do, but also it's just true. I cannot imagine what I would do if I was in charge of running Guantanamo Bay, even in the late 80s, early 90s. It's a very different mindset and lifestyle. So Tom Cruise, though, he's very much a just normal guy. When we meet him, he's playing baseball. He skips a meeting, and a military officer has to come be like, hey, you missed the meeting with me. And they kind of do it on the baseball or softball field, because that's really what he's concerned about.
We'll take a point out that again, the pictures of Rob Reiner being a big baseball fan. Obviously, when Harry Met Sally, we've got the thing at the batting cage. Right at the start of Misery, he picks a snowball up and lobs it, and that's the first line of dialogue is, still got it. And here we've got Tom Cruise do the baseball thing as well. There is almost a link here. I don't know whether this is conscious or not, if he adds them back in, or if it's just... It's in the US, therefore you have to put something baseball related in.
It's Americana. Is it like, for this specifically, separately, did Sorkin really put baseball into the play? I couldn't tell you for sure. I would imagine to an extent, that or something like that is there. But, he says, I think better with my baseball bat in my hand. So I'm sure it is in the play. So, by the way, my internet connection's the unstable one if we're having issues. So anyway,
once it's not me.
I think, we meet him playing baseball, where we meet Demi Moore, and she's in her uniform, and she's going to meet her superiors and make her plea for, I need to take this case, which she does end up worming her way into. So there's these two privates. And, Tom Cruise just kind of wants to do the bare minimum, fact-finding and all that. And he goes to meet with them, and they're, Marines, and they don't speak unless spoken to. And Like those two actors playing the two main Marines, like they are really good at embodying how they are supposed to behave.
Yeah. James from Twin Peaks is the slow one.
That's it. That's who he is. Because there's two. One's a little more outspoken and thoughtful, and the other one's a bit more shy, reserved. Perhaps dumb. Who knows?
Yeah, well, I should get the other one to speak for him, and let's just keep checking with him. Should we say that? Should we not say that?
Yeah. And so Demi Moore actually becomes his personal attorney by working with his aunt. So she gets hired as counsel to really help him because she cares. Whereas Tom Cruise, this is just a job, and he just wants to close another case and be really cool, be Tom Cruise. And
I will say, I've just seen very quickly, if anybody's interested, the PDF or a PDF of the original script for the play,
nice.
A Few Good Men, is on the Internet Archive.
That's fun.
Cool.
So if anyone wants a couple of hours read after doing this and wants to see what the original is like, then apparently that's on there.
That really, there was only one difference I could find. I don't remember what it was. I also read in a People article that Demi Moore said a producer was pushing a sex scene between her and Tom Cruise. But obviously, that I could see it happening. I don't think it would fit the film.
Wasn't Demi Moore pregnant at the time?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm sure I might have it wrong, but I'm sure I've heard that.
It would definitely not fit the film, but at the same time, if you're a big old movie producer, when you've got Tom Cruise and Demi Moore in it, you can see why they're pushing it from a financial point of view. Like, it sounds sleazy, but like, if you've got Demi Moore and Tom Cruise in there and you're a slimy movie producer,
the two hot young things, to the biggest stars of the world, to the best looking people in the world at the time,
like, was Demi Moore like the top grossing actress in the world at that point? Like,
it's definitely up there, I think.
Yeah, her and Cruise, obviously, like, they're huge in this era. Nicholson is, he's gonna sell any movie, like, and he's so good in this too.
Yes.
And then, like, I forgot Kevin Bacon is in this, playing the the U.S. the military attorney representing the United States side of the case.
He's opposing counsel, and I love his dynamic with Tom Cruise, because they're on opposite sides of the courtroom, but they're friends as well. Outside the court, they're they're really close. They have a really good relationship, and they try and help each other out where they can. And he keeps saying, "Look, don't push this. You're going to get yourself into trouble." That's not purely out of our side. He wins the case. He's literally just looking out for him as well, which is nice
it's
touch, I think.
It's like, we have the entirety of the U.S. government. You have pretty much nothing to go on. Don't bother, mate. Like,
and Tom Cruise kind of has to be coaxed into actually taking it to trial and carrying beyond, doing his job at, like, it's tough to say the bare minimum, but, like, that's likely what he's going for. But they go down to Cuba and they meet with, Jack Nicholson and Kiefer Sutherland and whoever else is there. So there's one of the guys right below Nicholson who also, like, just disappears because he has, like, special ops experience, and then he ends up, killing himself because he tells Tom Cruise the truth. He tells him what happened, but he doesn't have any evidence that he won't testify, and then he's dead. So, that's a major blow to the case. But, like, what makes the film great is all of the interactions and the power plays and the dynamics in every individual scene where, Tom Cruise does not care about the military, and he's talking to the privates. They can tell they don't respect it, but they're required because of his rank to treat him a certain way, and he's able to exploit that. And that's the other thing Jack Nicholson does is he exerts power through his, rank, like forcing Tom Cruise to ask him nicely for the transfer order, which was faked by the guy who offs himself. So, By the way, I didn't notice that Christopher Guest was the doctor on the stand, so there's another
No, to be honest, I
mockumentary.
didn't. Yeah, I should have picked up on that, really, especially with the
He's
Rob
not got an
Reiner connection.
awful British accent. That's what. Sorry, a very good British accent. Like, let's be honest, it's the best one you've ever heard.
Yeah, so he's one of, there's the doctor involved because, like, they found an acceleration of some kind of, chemical in his body that caused him to die. And so, yeah, the doctor's there to testify about that. Cuba Gooding Jr. also, he testifies in it, which I did recognize him easily. And I don't know who's playing the judge, but whoever plays the judge, he was good. So everybody in the small roles are great.
The judge has great moments in the last stretch. Like Nicholson is going to make a big thing about, show me the respect I deserve. I'm a war hero. I'm protecting my country, everything like that. And then he gets a bit snippy with the judge, and the judge says, "And you address me as Your Honor."
I think I deserve that. Yeah. Just very quickly. The guy who plays Markinson, who's the guy who shoots himself midway through the film, that they're relying on a witness. He is played by J.T. Walsh, who also had a cameo as Chief Sherman Douglas in Misery.
There you go.
So bring it all back to you.
I found
more people returning from previous movies.
I found the judge during that. J.A. Preston, who was also known for his roles on TV. Like Reiner. So,
yay.
Yeah, there you go. But probably, I didn't see what show he was on exactly, but I'm sure he's on some Norman Lear thing too. But anyway, the Tom Cruise, I mean, he's incredible. He gets to be charismatic, and he gets to play in all the different modes of the character, and ultimately be the good guy, which is nice.
Yeah, and they have like good a well constructed case, and going like into some kind of unusual routes, because their evidence is quite thin, but they've got to be a bit smarter about things, and just seeing them kind of put that together, and kind of how they get to where they end up is really entertaining. In room films, it's like you have the showy kind of final remarks, and the cross examining and everything like that. That's always great for a good actor. But almost as compelling is like scenes of literally very smart people sitting in rooms, going through papers, and trying to find their plan of attack. That's just as entertaining for me.
And there's, as you mentioned the evidence. There really isn't a ton. It's mostly, do code reds exist? Did you order this? Well, no, we said don't touch it. That kind of stuff. Apparently in the play there is a hard piece of like forged evidence that was taken out of the film, and for me why that is important and works better is the way the case ultimately ends is with Tom Cruise just sort of getting Jack Nicholson to using who he is as a character to admit to things. Their standoff while Jack Nicholson
he keeps poking the bear, doesn't he? It's like he wants that outburst, that explosion, doesn't he?
Yeah, and Jack Nicholson can't hold back. He needs to know. I ordered the code. You're damn right, I did.
The truth.
Yeah, you can't handle the just all of it. All that whole bit.
Jack Nicholson's like monologues there are just
Jack Nicholson. Yeah, it's like a 2.5 hour film near enough, isn't it? And I think Jack Nicholson's probably on screen for 15-20 minutes or so.
Less than that. I think I saw somewhere that it's like 10-11 minutes physically on. He's in it for 3 scenes.
Yeah,
mostly sitting.
But he just makes so much of that limited screen time.
It's just him walking into the courtroom and Reiner's decision to put it from a low angle, just following him in. Walks in and it's like, it's as good a reveal as Darth Vader. We've already met the guy twice,
But we go back to Misery, I don't think we ever saw her from anything but a low angle, did we, to make her look as powerful as possible?
Pretty much, yeah. Oh, it's Jack Nicholson. I mean, I'm like, The Shining's one of my favorite movies. Like, he just sits there for that 2-minute monologue, after you can't handle the trouble, him like, you want me on the wall, you need me on that wall. It's so good and so and Jack Nicholson is the only person possibly in history that could have pulled that off. Like, if you'd have got any other actor and gone, could anybody else have done it better? The greatest actor, no matter who you think is the greatest actor of all time, you go, could they have done it better than Nicholson? You just go, no.
Yeah, no, definitely not better. No, he's just to have that level of intensity and performance when you are mostly just sitting in chairs. Like it's the anti Steven Seagal.
I was going to say it's all from his entire, like, again, he's in it for 3 scenes, and 2 of them he sat down the entire time because he's behind a desk at one point, and then like a dinner table in the sun in the next bit. And then the only other times he stands up is when he walks into the courtroom, tries to get up and go out again, and then gets pulled out the courtroom. Like, he's on his feet like 4 times, maybe 3 in the entire film. So all of his acting is just his face, essentially, and his voice. And to be able to get nominated for an Oscar for essentially that is just, it's an insane level of acting. And this doesn't take away from Tom Cruise and Demi Moore and Kevin Bacon and everybody else that's in it, but like Jack Nicholson for 10 minutes, like one of the performances of the decade, just in 10 minutes, face down, face up.
And so it's a testament to Sorkin and Reiner and just everyone who helped conceive that scene and put it together. Like, just a great confluence of talent. Now, let's see. Did I have anything else? I think my only last real point on this is I watched it through DirecTV because my only other option was buy it for $15. So I watched essentially a TV version, which was censored for TV with and on streaming TV, so not even really TV, with ads put in between different segments. Now they did stop eventually, and it just kept running through. But I think it had the fades to black and stuff like that for commercial timeouts, and it didn't have the F words in it. You could see Jack Nicholson's dubbed over, saying hell instead of the F word at one point.
I mean, for once, I actually have it on DVD. Like, it's one of the ones just like Few Good Men. It's like, oh, I have that somewhere. I actually managed to bust it out.
Well, happily for me, both Few Good Men and Misery were on Amazon Prime, so that's where I watched them. And I think when How I Met Sally was on Mubi, I think, when I checked. So.
It's very much an actor drama film, but there's nothing wrong with that because it's great. Like that. When you have these performers, you just kind of let them go, and it must have been really cool for Aaron Sorkin. He's been grinding away writing theater to see his script brought fully to life, where the illusion is greater than what you get the illusion of stage. So,
and obviously on the back of the success of this, he got the West Wing off the ground, didn't he? So
he became one of Hollywood's kind of go-to sort of political drama writers and everything else.
Also clever writers.
The American precedent with Reiner.
I mean, one of the criticisms of Sorkin by some, he was like, none of his characters talk like actual people. It's all very kind of flamboyant, kind of almost impossibly sharp and clever and witty dialogue. There's nothing necessarily realistic about kind of his kind of character interplay. But I don't care. It's entertaining to watch. It's something to aspire to almost.
And you don't go, and dialogue is not real speech. That's the thing. You don't write real. I once heard, I can't remember who said it, but dialogue is essentially, when you have an argument with somebody and about 3 weeks later you sit up in bed and go, oh my God, I wish I'd have said that. That'd have been the most amazing comeback. Dialogue is that, but without the 3 weeks gap. Anybody that tries to make dialogue sound like actual real speech as dialogue has not understood the point. Dialogue is meant to be stuff which gives you the impression of real speech, but does something completely different, which is to entertain you give information.
Yeah.
Like if it was real speech, every third word would be an or an in everybody's speech. Like
if you want naturalistic stuff, go to a naturalistic film. This is drama.
yeah,
This is
go watch Mumblecore. Like
this is made to be big and
This
not
a glossy, heightened Hollywood drama, as you say.
because you wouldn't admit on the stand, yes, I committed that crime. Like that's the stupidest thing you could possibly do.
Yeah.
And any smart person would say, no, I'm just not going to say that thing, like people do in real life in this situation.
The judge would have interrupted him like 15 seconds before it got to that point and said, you do not have to say anything. And he says that, but then he would have kept going until Tom Cruise, you're out of order, you're out of line, get back there or you're being barred. Like, it's just, but you got to do it in order to get the reveal. So
I mean, there's this huge YouTube channel, Legal, where this real lawyer, he kind of talks like what's currently going on in the world, kind of various legal things going on and political things going around the world. The occasionally do this series where it's like courtroom scenes in films examined by a lawyer, and basically goes through it like step by step. Could this happen? Would they do this? Would they do that? I think Few Good Men, I seem to remember. I think he was stopping like every minute saying, "Yeah, that's not right. That's not right. That's not right." Good film though. I don't really care. I'm compelled by this scene. I don't mind if it's not true to life.
Yeah, it's like it's not true to life, but at the same time, like it's just such good cinema, and it's such good filmmaking, such good acting that you just don't care, It's like
because most of us, I mean, I open with I know nothing about the law. I did that for a reason. I don't know. This could be realistic for all I know. I really don't know and don't care. It's a great movie, and if you're whining about realism in an Aaron Sorkin movie,
and it's military, it's military law as well, which is weird, isn't it? I mean, if you know something about like general law, I think it's a whole different ball game, really. So he can get away with. I'm sure he's done the research, and he probably used as much as he felt was necessary to tell his story.
Well, I mean,
otherwise, dramatic license,
Yeah. And certain aspects of the law are so specialized anyway. I mean, I've probably said before, when I was doing my MA, we did an entire module on media law. My lecturer had to go to the law department and go, do you have an equivalent? This is what I want to do. And they turned around and went, Hugh, as a film producer, you are more qualified than the entire law department of a university to teach media law. So he's like, yes, I can do it myself, because it's so specialized. And like copyright law and all those specifics he deals with on a daily basis, it's so specific that, just areas of law will work differently in terms of the rules and regulations. Courtrooms will probably work roughly the same way, but in terms of like finicky like rules and regulations, like if you're in that area, you know more than anybody else that's kind of probably got like 30-40 years general experience on you.
I think I already said my last bit, but my last bit finally is, other than the last scene, my favorite scene is when Tom Cruise is talking to the sharper of the two privates, and he's saying, why can't you just take this 2-year plea bargain, serve your 6 months, get out? And he says, because I'll be dishonorably discharged. And that's what they don't want. They care about honor. They care about being a Marine. And the ending is tragic because they're found innocent of all the bad stuff, but they are still found guilty of conduct unbecoming a Marine. And they are, because they did do the code red that they were ordered to do. So even if they aren't responsible for the death, that's tragic and sad. So it's a bittersweet ending, but I think mostly people just remember Tom Cruise wins. It gets him to say the thing.
But that's very Sorkin as well. I mean, again, at the end of Trial of Chicago 7, they're kind of found guilty. Do you have anything to say? And the thing they do is they read out this list of like 200 names that had died in the course of justice. And so it's like, even though they're going down, that's your cathartic win. Sorkin never goes completely one way or the other. You'll always have kind of, there is a loss and a win, and you have to have both, and that's life.
Great.
Yeah. So that's it for A Few Good Men for me. Any final thoughts for you guys?
No, but I can tell you there's definitely a few good men in that movie. And there's not 12 angry ones.
Yeah, I think easily this week the 3 films we've discussed are the most consistent in quality we've ever talked about, I think.
Yeah. Like, have we said any negative things about any of them?
No,
Like,
not really. No, Reiner this era just didn't miss, did he? He just is so well balanced and versatile, brilliant.
in
Yeah.
his first 7 films again,
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
Yep.
you
All right.
imagine that.
Well,
Just-
that is it for this week, but we'll be back next week with something else. Until then, guys, where can people find you?
You can find me at SSP Thinks Film and at the Second Cut Pod Substack, where you can still check out our the Second Cut top 10 films of 2025 list we all collaborated on together. I think very pleased with how it turned out. So we picked 3 favourite films each and then agreed on one, which seems to be the one that everyone's agrees on is the best of the year. So no surprises there. Probably guess what it is. So check that out.
hopefully you don't find me anywhere. If you do, I am judgmental in various places. I think since the last time we were on, I've had a review of Anaconda and The Housemaid, which I saw at the end of last year. Both go up. I will get to things hopefully this weekend for more stuff coming up.
And you can find me at Jacob Film Guy, where I've written stuff too at the Substack, just not recently. So go check. I mean, relatively recently, but no new stuff. So just go check all that out. And you can find us everywhere at secondcutpod@gmail.com, or everywhere at secondcutpod, and email us at secondcutpod@gmail.com. So that is it. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Spinal tapping out.